for you to join us, sunshine.
Sit down, Red.
F.E.A.R stands for First Encounter Assault Recon. No one ever really says this anymore, so I just figured I'd say it now. You're in a band of mercenaries that deal with the paranormal. The story deals with Alma, a pissed-off supernatural being who has been tested on and abused. She's murdering the hell out of people and blowing up cities. Enjoy trying to stop her. Though F.E.A.R 2 is out on the PC, I played the Xbox 360 version, which I imagine is very similar to the PS3 version. Let me state this right now. I fully realize that F.E.A.R 2 has not really pioneered anything in FPS controls, though some may futilely try to convince me that it first happened with GoldenEye, which is wrong, sorry. I believe that Halo is one of the first FPS games to really get console FPS controls right. Regardless though, it was a major step, so please do not bitch at me. Seriously. But anyway, something caused me to reflect while in the middle of F.E.A.R 2. These controls have been mastered. Developers have come so far. F.E.A.R 2's controls are tight as hell and control perfectly. For that alone, I already respect this game deeply. F.E.A.R 2 segues between two different styles of play. First, there's the more action-oriented gameplay. The game makes heavy use of bullet time effects as you always have it, and it's always recharging. Zipping in and out of cover as you manipulate time at its best points in the game feel incredible. F.E.A.R 2 is said to have some of the best enemy AI as well. They shout orders at each other and generally don't go walking around like mindless dunces. They duck in and out of cover and you need to keep your wits about you in order to take them down. It's pretty great. There's also the more horror aspects of the game. As I stared into the television screen with the lights completely off as I made my way through a desolated elementary school with blood smeared all over the walls and the flashlight on my gun flickering on and off while getting attacked by God knows what was intense. It truly delivered some memorable moments in gaming. This game really should be freaking out a lot of people. Now, I hate to go on a side rant, but you know what? I'm gonna do it anyway. I've read in a few print reviews that F.E.A.R 2 disappoints in terms of horror, that the enemies coming at you feel like cartoony ghosts, and they're essentially just more creeps to shoot at. I think a lot of it depends on whether or not you decide to puss out and turn up the brightness setting, and I'm serious. The game had an extremely different feel after turning the lights up just a tiny little bit. Turn it up 3/4 of the way, and you essentially erase the horror aspect in its entirety. I tried it out, and that's how I felt. It's really up to you, though, whether or not you wish to do so, and whether or not you prefer having horror aspects or not. F.E.A.R 2 is unfortunately not perfect. I'm not really that anal on linear FPS level designs, but they did feel a little too linear here. You're really given no sense of direction at all, and just follow wherever your nose points you to. I realize that the unknown mysteries are intended to help build up the atmosphere, but the end result feels just aimless and becomes tiring at times. Most of the areas lend themselves extremely well to great shootouts, but even still, while considering the high quality controls and enemy AI, some of the battles felt identical, leading to a repetitive feel, which I would say makes up for about 10% of the time. Not major, but still noteworthy. The online mode, which is really just a standard mix of everything you're used to, didn't really do much for me. I'm sure it has its community if you're absolutely dying to get into it, but there was nothing that really stood out. It made me feel that investing time into getting good at it would be a rewarding idea. It's actually far from bad and a nice distraction even, but with all the other high quality multiplayer FPS experiences, it just didn't seem worth it to me. Your mileage may vary. F.E.A.R 2 looks great and feels great. It's not a game that blew me away throughout its entirety, but it's still a very solid FPS. Some of the level design cliches failed to impress me, but I still could not stop respecting this game and everything that it attempted to do. Its lack of originality will keep this game far off my list of most memorable gaming experiences ever. But at the same time, as I said, it's still very solid. Recommended for FPS fans who don't mind a little horror dipped into their shooting. It's probably the next game you should get if you really enjoyed last year's Dead Space. F.E.A.R 2 Project Origin on the Xbox 360 receives an 8 out of 10.